thank you for coming here, first of all, because I know SEO, automatically people hear SEO and they get really, really nervous, or they run the other way. So I promise I'm not going to make you run. But I did have a lot of information to cover. So after this session, if you have any specific questions, if we're not able to do Q&A, by all means, meet me right outside the doors here so that the next presenter can come in. So my name is Shannon Steffen. I've been doing human SEO specifically since about 1994. That's before Google came around. And I'm going to explain a little bit about human SEO, but I'm also going to tell you how you can take control today of having your own website get found and stand out and get found online. There are certain things that you can do before you even hire an SEO. So going in, my background here is that I've been in IT firms for over 20 years. I used to be a web developer, so I have a little bit of background in hard coding. And then I started realizing that there was not enough need out there for people to understand about the humans that are actually doing the searching. So this is a little bit of psychology, but it's a lot of just human emotion and what drives people to your products and services, so that way you get found before your competitors. As I go forward here too far, excuse me for one moment. Okay, so we're talking about human emotions, right? When people are searching, this is your target market. How are they searching? Based upon the emotions that they have at that moment that they're searching will actually correlate to the words that they're using or even the tools that they're using. So here I have two people, and these two people may be your exact target market, believe it or not. So on the one hand, you have a woman that's frustrated that is looking for a product or services, your product or service. Another one that's happy, having an easygoing day. And the example that I like to use a lot, which I don't have slides here for that because they're too funny to show, is a frazzled mom at 3 a.m. If you think that your product or service would meet that person's needs at 3 a.m., great. It may be a product or service that would help with their infant baby that was just born, or it can be something else. A 3 a.m. mom with no sleep is totally searching differently than a boardroom mom in between meetings. The words and the terminology and even the tools that they're using to find you are totally different. So understanding how you can come up first in the search engines or even online in general based upon how they're searching or based upon how both of these people are searching, because they may both be your target market, is how you can actually start climbing the search engine rankings. And there are a number of things that you can do about this. So this is the old SEO. This is what was back in the 90s going into the early 2000s. It was all about content, ranking, and keywords. Everybody thought if you go ahead and have keywords, here's your 5 keywords, have fun. Stuff your content. Unfortunately, that's not how it works anymore. Google has gotten really, really smart. They use something called semantic search. Each of these keywords would lead to content and then lead to your ranking. When you're being ranked differently on everybody's computer. Does everybody know that, by the way, that if you search for yourself on your own computer, you may come up number 1, but that's not your real ranking? How many people are aware of that already? Awesome, great. So that's called cache or cache. And what you need to do is you need to find out your true rankings. And there's differences in the SEO of today and the SEO of tomorrow. This is human search engine optimization. A few years ago, I coined the term human SEO, trademarked here in the United States, because I started noticing that the human search pattern was based upon a level of parameters that both ran for the human and the search engines, the robots and the humans. So now today, this is the new search engine optimization. And what makes me really excited is last year, Google actually started changing their algorithms to become more semantic, which means more of human verbiage in their search approach. So this takes into account how people are now searching. So you're still having the content and the linking, but now instead of rank being the almighty power here, we now have a social influence. So the social influence is not necessarily, by the way, it's not social media. This is different than social media. Social influence is the influence of one person to become from a customer to a champion. If you have the right person who becomes that champion, you can then be found through numerous platforms. And backing up here a little bit, the search engines, by the way, aren't just Google and Bing and Yahoo. Yahoo actually runs based upon the algorithm for Bing, which most people don't know. And also there's other search engines such as Yandex that's coming out, or Dogpile, or DuckDuckGo, that actually change the parameters of how search is. So most people say Google, but it's not just Google. So if you hear Google PageRank, that's kind of a fool's gold. What you're looking for is you're looking for a ranking across the platforms. You're looking to become the authority leader in your industry or your niche for your products and services. And this gets a little tricky for affiliates specifically, because of course that product or service may be also on other people's websites or on the main product provider's website. How do you compete with somebody who has an $8 million budget when you're an affiliate marketer? Well, you can. You don't need an $8 million budget, and I'm going to show you how. So first we have the content. Of course, I had to use a penguin because of the penguin algorithm for Google. We're going to talk first about keywords here. So when you have your keywords, people think that keywords don't mean anything anymore. And they do. And the way that your keywords work is based upon a human emotion. When you're talking to your device, be it Siri, be it Android, or typing it in, you're using specific quantifiers. This can be an emotional, like how to, because you're looking for something. How to make almond milk is a great example that I heard earlier this morning when I was talking to somebody. They wanted to do almond milk recipe. Well, I'm not looking for an almond milk recipe. I don't even know where to start. I need to know how to make almond milk. Is it something that I can do? So your keywords are going to be the focus of what's going on. But what you first do with keywords, and this is one of the tricks, is you write for the humans first. Your product descriptions, your blog posts, all should be written for the humans first. Then you go back and you decide, how many times have I used the word it? What is it? Google doesn't know what it is. It can be a dog bed. It can be medicine for your child. All these things that Google doesn't know is what you have to tell Google, because Google is actually blind. Google doesn't have a heart. It can't infer. It's trying to, but it can't. So you need to kind of convey that emotion. So when you're talking about maybe the top 10 places to go in Hawaii, you're talking about the best places to visit on your honeymoon in Hawaii. Top 10 Hawaii destinations used to be the keywords of the old days. Where do I go on my honeymoon in Hawaii? Might be another statement. Questions are the inference. So when you're doing with keywords, you have to know where to put them as well. When you're looking at your content, there's main places you want to put them. Of course, in the content, you always want it in the main area. But you also, Google looks at 3 places first. And we're going to talk mostly about Google. I know I mentioned don't pay attention to Google, but Google's the easiest one to remember. Google looks at your URL for keywords. It looks at your meta title tag for keywords. And it looks at your H1 for keywords. So the URL is self-given. The meta title is that little title that comes up at the beginning of the search engine results page that's hyperlinked. That's your meta title. Now when you write that also, remember you're writing for humans. You want it clickable. So you don't want it static and blah and white paper. And then the H1, there should only be one H1 per page. And a lot of web developers, if you work with them, will use the misnomer of using H1 because it can be styled appropriately across the website. You want one H1. Let them use H2 to H6 all they want. H1 is your headline of your newspaper. It's above the fold. It can be welcome to my blog or the most awesome rocking products in the United States. It could be anything that you want. But it should contain your keywords, but it should contain emotion. For me, I use things like stand out, get found online. Am I using SEO? No. The rest of my content is SEO. So you have to put it all together for that emotion because, of course, my clients want to stand out and get found online. They don't want SEO. They don't know they need SEO yet. So keywords is your first place. Now, with duplicate content, how many people have heard about the duplicate content issues with Google? Okay. So Google Panda is for duplicate content. Google Penguin is for linking. And then Google Hummingbird is kind of the house that does everything. Those are the search engine algorithms. We just recently had a recent Panda update that came out, and it's slowly coming out, I should say. So duplicate content, here's my big trick for this. I get so excited because there's only one trick you really need to know for duplicate content. It's your W's. When people have a website, they either have www.awesomedomain.com or they have no W's. The problem is that if you type in the W's or you don't type in the W's, when you go to your website, by all means, type in your domain name and then type it with and without the W's. If the URL does not change and you're not redirecting to one or the other, you have duplicate content across your entire website. This is the first place I always look for all my clients, is to see whether or not they have this issue. Another trick with this is a lot of people will think, oh, it'll look really cool if I do blog.awesomewebsite.com. No, you're splitting links. You want awesomewebsite.com/blog. Because anything that is in that beginning before your domain is considered a subdomain. It's an entirely different website. So across the board, you can be splitting links duplicate, triplicate, or more, just based upon whether or not you're redirecting correctly. And if you do have that, it's called a 301 redirect that you want. It's a permanent redirect. Your web developer can do that for you. And it should be a wildcard if it's the W's, which means everything underneath will automatically redirect to the W's or not W's. When choosing, by the way, as a trick, I choose not to have W's. Google chooses to have W's. If you type in google.com, it goes to www. I like it without because of social media. I like my business name to be front and foremost. So I use domainname.com for all my clients if they don't already have an existing website. So you have to pick and choose which one you do. If you already have materials that are printed with W's on it and you decide to do not W, the redirect will take care of that. You don't need to reprint your materials, your business cards, don't worry about it. So that's duplicate content. There's a lot more we can go into this, but I only have a half-an-hour session, so you guys will have to stick with me. Mobile friendly, how many are totally familiar with mobile friendly? If you guys checked out this morning, David Vogelpohl, he had WordPress session this morning. If you do a VIP, by all means, check out his video afterwards. He mentions mobile friendly as well for WordPress specifically if you have any questions. Mobile friendly is huge in SEO right now. They originally had anticipated 80% of all internet usage would be mobile devices. And I think we've actually surpassed that. I'm not sure at this point. But Google cares about mobile. Google really cares about mobile. They care about it so much that their Google app will actually list a label in front of it that says mobile friendly. If you're not mobile, you're not going to be found. After this presentation, by the way, I'm going to give you a link for free goodies. There's one that's a checklist for affiliate marketers. In that checklist, I have the URLs that you need for all of this, that you can double check your website. So there is a link that you can do for mobile friendly. Mobile friendly doesn't mean that it shows up and you can just see it. It means that it takes into account how close things are on the website, a link here and a link there. These will have huge impacts on your website rankings across the board. This is not just Google in this case. This is across the board. So the next thing is linking, because we talk so much about linking, link building. Link building is not the same as it used to be. So when you build a new website, how are you linking? The first thing you always want to do after building a new website is, of course, you want to communicate this to Google. Webmaster Tools for Google, there's Webmaster Tools for Bing, and there's Webmaster Tools. I use Yandex as well as one of the rankings. All three of those have a Webmaster Tools where you can submit your site. But you want to go a step further. You want to not only submit your site, but you want to go ahead and make sure that you are submitting the sitemaps for the site as well. A sitemap is not sitemap.html. It's XML sitemaps. They should be at the root of your domain. And the XML sitemaps, as another tip, is every sitemap should only be 1,000 links and no more than 10 megs in size. For affiliates, especially those that have thousands of products, you want to make sure that you're breaking out the sitemaps for each one, by 1,000. And there's a lot of tools that will do it for you. When you submit them to Google Webmaster Tools, you want to submit them individually. A lot of people will submit the main one and then they'll have the other ones listed underneath. You always want to submit individually because one file can change and Google may not pick it up. The great thing with Webmaster Tools is that with errors, you can actually see which ones are getting 404 errors on your website, whether or not they're having issues. You can also state what country you are predominantly in. There's a lot of things you can do in Google Webmaster Tools. The linking within Google Webmaster Tools is great, and I run tests on this frequently, where I can write a blog post and I actually have my term, of course, human SEO, that gives me a flag, it gives me an alert through one of the programs I use, that I can tell you within 24 hours Google has indexed it properly. Every single time the next day, there's an email sitting in my box telling me, by the way, there's another human SEO article. Then I know. So this is because every time I do this using something, on my website I use Yoast SEO for the XML sitemap, it pings the actual search engines, so you don't have to really worry about it. And you don't need to submit a URL every time you do a new page. Don't worry about that. Especially if you have an e-commerce shop for global e-commerce, Google Webmaster Tools is your key in. It's communicating on their language. The social profiles is another place you definitely want to link. A lot of people will link with a shortened URL. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, but don't do it. You want to link with your full URL. Always your full URL, because you're an authority. And people do not necessarily want to go ahead and click on a link that they're not sure of. So bit.ly, yes?
What if you have a vanity short URL?
A vanity short, and that's why I said we'd get to it in a minute, but no, that's okay. Vanity short URLs we'll definitely address in a moment. But you want to do the URLs in places that they're being seen. So for example, Twitter. People will put it in the automatic URL field. Yes, do that, but also put it in your bio. Because most people are not actually going to your home page for your Twitter profile. They're searching for you in line with something else, be it a follower wonk or something like that, where you can actually see the URL. So you want it to be in everything. You also want it to be, of course, in your Pinterest boards and things like that for your social profiles. But you want to use your full URL. And sometimes if you have a vanity URL, you can redirect, or you can use that in other ways, so we'll get to that. And you guys are still awake, right? Okay, good. Woo. Usually I'm more excitable, but they're making me stand here, so I couldn't really run around the stage here. Content redistribution, this is a great one, and we're going to get a little bit more into this in a moment here, but content redistribution, you hear a lot about duplicate content that we've already addressed here. Content redistribution, excuse me, not enough coffee, brings people back to your website. So LinkedIn Pulse, Medium.com, those are great websites for content redistribution, where you're taking your own content and you're redistributing it by changing it slightly. One of the great things that I've seen people do is that they may start, say they have a top 10 list, and they're putting it down. They may do 1 through 3 on Medium and click here for the rest of them. They may do things like that, or they may say, I wrote this awesome article on this. Have you ever wondered about this? Here's this article. LinkedIn Pulse is great for that. Plus, at LinkedIn Pulse, you can actually put more information down at the bottom, kind of like a footer, with more linking. In LinkedIn Pulse, one of the great things that I do there is I put a link to my ebook, and I also say that I write for my own blog, and here's my top 5 articles. So I'm now linking, but I'm not being obtrusive about it. I'm not being intrusive. I'm not going out and saying, you must click my link. I'm not embedding it somewhere where it takes somebody to some website in Hawaii or something. I'm telling them this is what they can get. I'm totally transparent at all times. Because the more people click these links, Google takes note. And Google goes, oh, wow, that must be really important if this person keeps clicking on it. They do the same thing in the search engines. When you click on a search engine result, if you click into a page and you realize you don't like it, and you click back, Google notices. And Google actually uses that in their rankings. So they'll say, well, this page keeps getting clicked, but it's not something people like because they keep clicking back right away. I'm going to demote it. And they will do that to you. So this is why you can't play the SEO game as it used to be. You have to give people the transparency in the content. So we're going to talk about social with Miss Happy over there. Full URLs. The full URLs you want to use is because you want to be transparent. Also, the main domain is shown. So Brand awareness is huge. A lot of people back in the day used to say, well, I'm going to buy 3,000 different domains and have them redirect and do all these funky things because I want keywords in my domains, my domain names. No. Give me a brand. Don't give me a domain name. Don't give me keywords. I'd rather keywords be at the appended to your domain name. Then tell me how awesome you are, where your keywords are. Don't worry about having 3,000 URLs that have keywords. You want to be the authority for your products and services. You do not want somebody else to be it. So use your full URLs. When I tweet, I do not use a shortener. I refuse to use a shortener. I don't care about the characters. It will truncate it for you. Granted, you'll have to use a little bit more characters, but it will still truncate it. And people will see, oh, ShannonKSteffen.com. Great. Okay, I know that this is a website I want to go to. I don't worry about being hacked. Now, when you're using a vanity URL, if it's something similar to what you are, and it's just a shortener, people will start recognizing that as a brand, and they still will click it. So as long as you're using your redirects correctly on a 301 from a shortener to the actual main page with the full URL, Google cares where it lands. People care where they're clicking. So you have to think people first, then the search engines. So use those full URLs. And span your shares, please. You do not need to tell me on 10 different platforms that I am following you on that you have this awesome article. If I love you, I'll find you on the first one. One of the tricks that I found, actually, I read a great article and I've tried doing this myself, and it works. Using, again, Medium, LinkedIn, I have the first one for my blog. My blog comes out every Tuesday at 7 a.m. So when it comes out, I have it share on my blog. I also then, of course, click my own social media sharing icons. Yes, I do. I click them, and I like it. So I click them, I share them, but I also tailor each of the information snippets. I don't just put something. So in Google+, I will actually put a little bit more information in there. I'll use the bolding and the italicized. I'll make it look pretty. But in the other ones, I may use a shortener. In LinkedIn groups, when I share it, great, I'm using some question. Maybe it's for a woman's, entrepreneur group. Well, then it has to be related to that. Know where you're sharing, by the way. Please do not, if you are a dog blogger, do not share on the cat board and the airplane board. No, it's not going to help you because Google cares based upon what the content is, where your links show up, determines the relevancy of that link and the weight of that link. So if your dog blog link is showing up on your mug website, that has nothing to do with dogs, Google doesn't care. Google knows you're trying to get a link. So it's going to wait. But now if that dog blog link shows up on a dog mug website, you're relative and relational. You're saying to people, I'm about dogs in this case. Span your shares. So first thing I do is I share it to everybody on Tuesday. Second thing is a couple days later, I share it on Google. Believe it or not, I don't hit Google right away because they already know what the XML sitemap. I don't have to worry about that. And then a couple days later, I share it on Medium. Now, why do I do this? It's because these platforms, such as LinkedIn and Medium, have a higher page authority and domain authority than I do. So I want that one-way link, but I have to be very careful as to how I share it. I use StumbleUpon. I use Reddit. Reddit, of course, you can get banned very easily if you're not capable enough to do it. Span your shares over time, and don't feel bad about resharing, because that person may not have picked you up right away. It's the people, again. And engage. Oh, please, God, please engage. You are not a spewing machine. You need to engage. If somebody retweets something of yours, or somebody shares an article and they happen to use your handle, or you can even use Google Alerts to tell you whether or not somebody mentions your brand, thank them. Say, thank you so much. How are you today? End everything in a question, by the way. It's great engagement. Ask them how they're doing, or how can I help you? Or is there any other question? Engage with people, even if it's something they don't even share of yours. I was actually hunted down by I said I was coming to New York City. And one of the hotels that I'm not staying at tweeted me and said, oh, welcome to New York City. What place are you going to go to eat? I said, I don't know. What's your top 3? And they gave me the top 3. None of them were in the hotel that was tweeting me. Now I like the hotel. Maybe there next year. That automatically gives you an in. Now, what did I do? I shared that with my 13,000 Twitter followers or whatever I have. You can't buy that. And if you do, people ignore it. So engage. Let people know they're there. I can also use one more story of, I used Foursquare back when it was actually Foursquare. And I actually went to something I saw on Twitter. I went to this restaurant. And it was before it was popular. It was actually on Travel Channel for the best burger in Milwaukee. I went there, and I'm sitting there with my husband, and all of a sudden the bartender comes up and she goes, "Are you Shannon?" I'm like, "Oh, crap. Yeah, I am." And she goes, "Oh, the owner, Joe, actually called into the bar, and he said he saw you check in on Foursquare, and he hopes that your meal is well, and if it isn't, please let us know how he can help you." Joe and I are best friends now, and I go to all his restaurants. I actually helped him get on Travel Channel along with some other people to win the best burger in Milwaukee. So how did that happen? All he did was thank me for coming to his restaurant. That's it. And I helped him get a prime spot where he is making God knows how much money now. Engage. So going back to human SEO, we have the different areas now that you really need to look at. And the reason why I put the in-betweens here is if you do social influence and you're spewing content, you're an activist. That's all you are. And if you do link building and content, you're a specialist. Great. And if you have social influence and you're just doing link building, you're a feeder. Nobody wants to engage with that. But if you really hone in to like thinking about the humans first, and then going ahead and saying, okay, how am I going to relate this to Google, this emotion and this feeling? Then you're going to go ahead and have success. Trust me on this. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm going to continue doing this until Google goes away or Google becomes AI. I haven't decided which one yet. But this really is your key. You don't need an SEO from the start. And I know I'm taking money away out of my own pocket here, but you really don't need to spend thousands of dollars right away. As long as you know that you're passionate about the products and services and you start optimizing. Start letting Google Images know that this product is the right image name.